I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Town of Milton Board meeting for April 28th. We'll start with the pledge by Councilwoman Kirk. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Brenda, can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr. Present. Councilman Froelich.
Present.
Councilman Isaacson.
Present.
Supervisors elect.
Present. Next up is a motion to accept the minutes from March 24th and April 14th meetings.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Ryan. Any discussion? Brenda, can you poll the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr. Yes. Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisors elect.
Yes. Before we get to public comment, we're going to jump a little bit out of order here. Russ, tomorrow is your last day with us, I understand?
Yes.
And we're going to take a second here and embarrass you for a couple of minutes, if you don't mind. I asked Dorothy to give us a little bit of background on what you do outside of work. Everybody knows how hard you work for us here and what you do for the town, and we're really appreciative of that. But what some of you may not know is Russ's activities outside of work. He has traveled to Uganda twice with the AIDS Orphans Education Trust, and once with his daughter Rosie to build schools. He's volunteered with the Giving Circle. He spent weekends on Staten Island after Hurricane Sandy, and then Schoharie County after Hurricane Lee. He's also worked through the Giving Circle here, refurbishing houses for wheelchair accessibility and just helping out general contractors and repairs. When his daughter Crystal was starting out in the nonprofit field, Russ would haul picnic tables and grills and whatever was needed and cook and serve food at picnic fundraisers. He volunteered in soup kitchens, food pantries, and fundraising events wherever he was needed. So outside of the good work that he did here and being backdoor neighbors for quite a few years, I can say Russ was always involved, probably still is, in his daughter's lives. And Russ, on behalf of the town and its residents, we want to present you a little plaque that says thank you for your time here with the town. If you don't mind? Okay. And then we had a little conversation. We had a little chat in the office, and you said your grandson couldn't wait to get fishing, so we passed the hat around the building. We got one for you or Georgie, okay? All right, you're welcome. Rosie, you can still ring the bell. He has candy in the cookie jar.
Yes, I just surprised him today from New Orleans.
So yeah, again, Russ, thank you for everything. I hope you have a good day tomorrow, and don't do anything dumb tomorrow. Just, cup of coffee, make sure something gets mowed, and get out of here on time and schedule.
Appreciate that.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We thought we'd do it first, so if you guys do want to get out of here, you're not holding anybody up.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, moving on, we'll have our opening public comment, if anybody wishes to speak. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to a public hearing for code changes to chapters 63 and chapters 129. Anybody wants to speak on those changes? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Resolution 27 of 2021, resolution enacting local law 2 to amend the town code chapter 63, sections C 1 through 7, fees for licensing dogs. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of Milton hereby adopts said local law number 2, amending sections of the town code by removing the existing language for the specified sections listed and replacing it with the new language, a copy of which said law containing all the changes is attached hereto and made a part of this resolution. Be it further resolved that the town clerk of the town of Milton is hereby directed to have chapter 63, section C 1 through 7 amended accordingly, and to enter said local law into the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Milton. To publish same in accordance with sections 264 and 265 of the town law of the state of New York, and to file a due notice of the adoption of said local law with the Secretary of State. So I need a motion to adopt and amend local law 2.
So moved.
Thank you, Frank.
Second.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? Okay, Brenda, can you pull the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr. Yes. Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Thank you. Next up, resolution enacting local law 3 to amend the town code, chapter 129 for peddling and licensing fees. Be it resolved that the town clerk, the town of Milton is hereby directed, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the chapter. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Milton hereby adopts said local law number 3 of 2021, amending sections of town code by removing the existing language for the specified sections listed and replacing it with new language, a copy of which said local law containing all the changes is attached here too, and made a part of this resolution, and be it further resolved that the town clerk of the town of Milton is hereby directed to have chapter 129-6 amended accordingly, and to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Milton, to publish same in accordance with sections 264 and 265 of the town law of the state of New York, and to file due notice of the adoption of said law with the Secretary of State. Now therefore be resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. Can I get a motion to amend chapter 129, the schedule of licensing fees?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Ryan.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. Any discussion? Can you pull the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr. Yes. Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Thank you. Next up is the motion with regret to accept the retirement of Russell Nowotny as of tomorrow, April 29, 2021.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, John. I think we need to have any discussion about it. We just gave him a plaque and a fishing pole, so I don't think he's coming back on next Monday. So Brendan, can you pull the board, please?
He is if we vote no.
What's that?
He is if we vote.
Well, I guess he is. But you tell him we voted no, John.
Well, I was planning that.
Okay.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr. Yes. Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Next up is a letter from Brian Stewart. Supervisor and board members, I am requesting that 40 hours of my vacation time be carried over into the next year. Thank you in advance for your consideration. We need a motion to approve vacation carryover for Brian Stewart.
So moved.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you, Frank.
It's also it's buyout.
I didn't see the buyout. Okay. It just says carryover.
Yep. Well, we can do two, right? Two motions.
Okay. Well, let's do that one first, then we'll come back and do the buyout motion.
All right, so who first?
I think Ryan, did you first that?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I thought you did too.
I believe John.
John and Frank?
I made the motion.
All right.
Okay. All right. Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr. Yes. Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Okay, next up is a motion to buy out 40 hours of vacation time for the same individual.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Frank. John was the first on that. Any discussion?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr. Yes. Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Next up, we are reports on animal control for the period from December 28th to March 27th, So we are contracting with the town of Malta. They had a total of 14 calls, $40 a call. It came to a total of $560. Building department.
Thank you for sharing. Building Department report for March 2021. Dear Supervisor Lotnick and town board members, during the month of March, the Building Department processed 40 building permits and collected $17,417.70 in building permit fees. We completed 128 construction inspections, 22 fire safety inspections, and responded to 19 code enforcement complaints. A total of 23 complaints were closed with 16 certificates of occupancy and 7 certificates of compliance being issued. We also collected $250 in zoning fees and $5,000 in planning fees. Please find the appropriate itemized report attached. Respectfully submitted, Bill Willis.
Okay. And does the building department liaison have anything to report on?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Barb. Buildings and grounds. Frank? Nope.
Ryan?
Sorry?
Buildings and grounds report for April. During the month of April, they have completed the following tasks. Fixed damaged bathroom doors in the Suzanne Lyle Park. Fixed broken siding on the pavilion roof. Replaced faulty plumbing. Repainted the handball court. Graffiti removal. Repainted the court in Town Hall in preparation. Moving back in. Replaced damaged door in Pavilion 1 in the Burgess Kimball Park. Removal of unsightly debris. Cleaning and disinfecting daily. Perform maintenance on mower equipment in preparation for the coming months.
Thank you, Ryan. Historians report. Karen, do you want to read it?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Take your time.
That was one. You weren't paying attention.
That's the best report I've heard.
Got so excited.
It's all right.
I would like to say so. Anyway. Okay. I continue to work from home answering.
Karen, you got to
research
put the microphone down a little bit. There you go. Oops. There you go.
Okay. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Can you
Go ahead.
hear? Yeah, maybe?
Yeah.
Yes. The green light's on. Okay. I continue to work from home answering research requests and documenting the pandemic. As of last Friday, Milton has 21 active cases. As of Monday of this week, we're down to 12. So that's a big improvement. Unfortunately, there's been one additional death since last month. Total number of confirmed cases in Milton are now 997, and the village has a total of 280. And there are 5 active cases in the village, and there's been no death. I continue to collect newspaper and magazine articles, which I add to daily, and I also add daily to an electronic diary as well to document things. The Historic Structures and Places Committee met on April 7th here at the Community Center, and I have started to do the documentation research for the Pomeroy Historic Road Marker that we plan to apply for, highlighting the importance of the Cater-Osso's Creek. Our committee has decided to create a video that coincides with Brookside's Forgotten Crossroads program. We will be highlighting Rock City Falls, and we have set aside a separate set of meetings to work on the ideas of what to present and to review old pictures of Rock City Falls at those meetings. Anyone interested in helping with the video project, please contact me. Our next regular meeting of Historic Structures and Places is planned for May 13th here at the community center at 6:30. Anyone interested in local history is invited to attend. This month I received 2 large binders of information from the test learning site as part of their programmatic program agreement with the town. They will start dismantling the Horton Sphere. And the information they sent was all the blueprints to it, as well as past and present pictures before they start to dismantle it. As nearly all the training at the site is now done by simulator, the usefulness of the Horton Sphere has become obsolete. And this is the exciting part. I'm like jumping out of my skin with this one. I have been invited to tour their historic district on the site on May 21st, including going inside the Horton Sphere. I'm so excited about that. Anyway, I'm going with Phyllis Keeler, who's the town Galway historian, as well as the county historian Laura Roberts. She's coming too. And we are also going to be touring with the representatives from the State Office of Historic Preservation as well. So that's an exciting day for us. So this was supposed to have happened last April, but we don't know what was going on last April. So that was canceled. So but now it's rescheduled and everybody's tickled pink. Anyway, special deal. Saratoga County History Center, Brookside, continues to post virtual programs to their website and to YouTube. So keep checking them out. I'm still also looking for a picture of my young store in West Milton. If you know anybody who can help me with that, please contact me. Respectfully submitted, Karen Starkers. So anyway, I'm so excited about this site.
Thank you, Karen. Town Clerk, Registrar's Office.
All right, so for March 2021, we had 4 marriages, 6 certified marriage certificates, 38 certified death certificates, 8 FOIL in search of records, 191 dog licensing, 4 hunting and fishing license, and 1 PDD application. The town share was $3,550.95 plus $1,000 for the PDD.
Thank you. Do we have anything from the Justice Court?
Milton Town Court, charge volume,
Barb, give me the microphone.
can't see it. Milton Town Clerk, charge volume summary report for all judges for the month of March. There were charges 74 and disposals 155. The total money collected for and remitted to the state comptroller is $8,649. So that was $8,649. That's it.
Thank you, Frank. Tax Collector, Lisa, do you want me to read the letter, or do you want to do it? Okay. To Supervisors Lotnick and Town Board members, the 2021 property tax collection has ended for the Town of Milton. Any unpaid taxes must now be paid to the Saratoga County Treasurer. If anyone needs to contact the Treasurer, their telephone number is 518-884-4724. Taxes collected by my office from January 2nd through March 31st totaled $7,680,390.26, plus $6,016.01 in penalties and $778 for second notice fees. A total of 93% of the mandated taxes have been collected this season. A total of $2,602,049.62 has been paid to the town. This amount represents the sum due to the town pursuant to the 2021 tax warrant issued by the Saratoga County Treasurer, penalties, second notice fees, and bank interests. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Respectfully submitted, Lisa Wallace. Anything from the Planning and Zoning Board liaisons?
Planning board was a busy board this month.
They had a public hearing for the active solar project on Route 29, which was approved. They had another active solar project that was presented, and that's on Murray Road. It's an expansion of the solar farm that's there now, and that's just in its starting stages. They had a site plan review application from Winter's Circle, and basically what it was to amend their site plan, to reconfigure a few buildings in their last phase, and that was approved. We had another solar farm presentation at Ostrode, and that's up on Middle Grove Road. It used to be the old town landfill. That just started in its stage as far as coming back for reviews. That was brought before the town, oh, I want to say probably 5 or 6 years ago. And we had PDD subdivision on Stone Church Road, and that's just started through their process.
Thank you, John.
The zoning board went much quieter. We had a public hearing for an area variance on Rip Van Lane, public hearing for an area variance on 17 Burning Pines Drive, and an area variance application for active solar from Murray Road.
Thank you very much. Under new business, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Barb.
This highway.
Oh, I didn't have a report from highway.
I have a report from highway.
You
I
have
thought
one?
it was, I think I had 2 of them actually.
Oh, go ahead. I didn't get one, so I didn't think we had one.
Town of Milton Highway Department.
Take the microphone, Barb.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. The Highway Department recently paved Petrified Gardens Road and started working on drainage repairs in Rollins Hollow West. We'll be paving Rock City Road and Sherman Road in May. The Highway Department has begun their spring cleanup. We urge town residents to bring their leaves and lawn debris curbside before May 15th, when spring cleanup concludes. Town residents can also bring their lawn debris to the transfer station located at 503 Geyser Road. Transfer station hours are Monday through Thursday from 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Saturday hours will start on May 1st and will be 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Highway Department.
Thank you. Sorry for skipping over there. I didn't see one in my package. So I
And then
didn't.
I have something else I'm going to ask Benny.
Sure.
I've been out talking to people, obviously. I forgot how much I enjoy doing that in the town. But one of the questions is, when we ran for office, you promised to be our liaison to the county, and we haven't had any reports. I was wondering if you'd be willing to give us a brief summary of the meetings the last couple months or the last couple weeks. I know you had board of supervisors. I also know you had Prosperity Partners. And anything on the airport, that is a major concern, buildings and grounds. I looked that up today, and the last meeting for buildings and grounds was in, I believe, January 11th. And just about everything on that agenda was airport issues, and none of that information has come back.
I'm not on the Buildings and Grounds Committee this year from the county. So I've been informed that when they make a vote to do something on the airport that involves the airport, I will be included and I will have a vote. The meetings that were earlier this year were to ratify contracts or to renew contracts for the fence work that's being done. Veterans Committee hasn't met in a month, so we didn't have anything last month to report on. Open Space and Trails hasn't met for 2 months, so I didn't have anything to report on there.
Well, I know there was one issue on there that kind of concerned me, was the airports either leasing or offering, leasing right-of-ways or offering to purchase property from residents surrounding the airport. Nobody seems to know exactly where that is.
Well, as I stated, until there's a motion or a move that's going to be made, I'm not aware of what's on that committee.
Was it right-of-ways or easements?
Right, I think it was right-of-ways.
easements
Easements
And-
and purchase.
purchase of property.
And purchase. of
7.
property.
Well, the easements are for the airspace over, they always come through and do that.
Yeah.
You know.
There were 7 properties that are supposed to be purchased, or eased. They didn't specify which, but there were 7 properties involved.
The other thing was I ran into, I want to talk about it, where the Legend Lane, the berms, very terrible condition. The trees are just about all dead, laying over. Wonder if you could talk to someone at the county about going out and checking that and replacing the trees maybe with a different species of tree and possibly moving them down the berm a little bit so they don't have that exposure that they have right now. I think that should be probably what's killing them.
I will talk to Chad Cook about that. Thank you for bringing it up.
Are we still under new business?
Sure.
Okay. I've talked to people about, we've been talking about the planet issue for several months and trying to come to some resolution. And Ryan and I came up with some things. We don't want to, we can't be extremely explicit about it because there are attorneys involved now. But we wanted to lay out what we're considering with Planet. And please believe me, this is to protect the public from excess noise and the visual and the public safety, really, and why we're looking at these things. The first thing would be stockade fencing around all the roadsides, which is already there, I believe. That's already required. I know Planet has it, I know the place across the street has
Planet
it.
has chain link.
No, they have it, they have stockade in the front, they have big chain link. They do have it from the gate over.
Gate
Over, right,
north.
okay. We're looking at, or talking about chain link fencing with vinyl, either 6 or 8 feet, to help protect the public, so children don't wander in there, pets don't wander in there. Earth berms with approved trees for buffer, for hopefully filter out some of the noise and some of the visual. Locate crushing and other operations as far away from residential areas as possible. I think they're already doing that. I think they've moved that operation somewhat. And each junkyard comply with the yearly licensing, which they do. And then we're also looking at limiting hours of operation, especially during the summer months. So that's just kind of an overview. And I'd like to have an open discussion with all residents and business owners to review these recommendations. If we cannot have an open and sincere discussion and come to some conclusion, I'm prepared to make a motion to have the town attorney review the state regulations and ask the board to vote on adopting those regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. I would like to thank you and Ryan for your work over the past 16 months to get this paperwork put together and this program up and running. So I do appreciate the efforts that you two have put in over these many months. Thank you very much. As John and I conducted interviews last Friday for our camp director program, the interviews went very well. The woman that we decided on is Francesca Del Signor. She's from Troy, New York. She is a music teacher, a fine arts teacher in Cohoes. She worked for a few years in the Boston Spa Central School District. She was one of the driving forces behind starting Launching Pad, the theater group for the younger kids in the class. So I would like a motion to approve Francesca Del Signor from Troy, New York as our rec leader for the summer at a salary of $18.87 per hour.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Frank. Any discussion?
What are the plans for the summer camp? I mean,
Or
we're almost into May here.
and she's well aware of that. We're gonna try to run a 6-week program, starting the last week in June through the month of July, first week in August. She's got a lot of good ideas. She's ready to go, so we're gonna send her a package of information tomorrow on what has been done, what needs to be done, and we're gonna reach out to the State Health Department to make sure we can be up and running and everything's ready to go. We're taking applications for kids who want to be counselors. They can stop in anytime and fill out an application. They can do it online. And hopefully by the end of May, we have a staff ready to go.
Have we had a lot of inquiries from residents for your children?
I fielded about a half a dozen phone calls from people wanting to know if we're going to have a camp. I told them once we got someone hired, we could start the ball rolling, but it's also going to be up to officials higher than us to decide what the rules are going to be for how many children are allowed in the camp, spacing, distancing, and that type of stuff. So
Okay.
right now, the plan is to go with it. I think we all agree it's better to be ready to go and told in camp rather than not do anything and find out 3 weeks into June that camp starts next week. So I'd rather that we were ready to go. Brendan, can you pull the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Carr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Saratoga County, in cooperation with the Seroptimus International Saratoga County, is designing a program to increase knowledge about and education in local government while also building confidence in leadership. It's called the Saratoga County Women in Government Leadership Program. Any young lady in the Ballston Spa School District is welcome to apply. There's later tonight or tomorrow, Ryan will be putting up a what is it called, Ryan? A link, a hyperlink to the application, and I will bring our recommendations back to the board, and we can choose. Every supervisor or town will be allowed to pick one young lady to participate in this program. This is the first year that it's going to happen, and it's supposed to. The applications, when they come in, will have a young lady's name, not her address, not what year she's in school. It's going to be picked solely on just a plain old name. There's not supposed to be any favoritism allowed or chosen through the program. So any young lady in high school is welcome to apply, and it's about a 5 to 6 week program. There's going to be some virtual classes. There's going to be some in-session or in-class learning. These young ladies will get to meet department heads at the county, the 3 women supervisors we have on the Board of Supervisors, along with the ladies of the Seroptimus International, which is a group that's made up of businesswomen from Saratoga County, and they do a lot of good things that most of us don't know about. They like to operate, I mean, they're out there, but they don't like to toot their own horns. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity for 20 young ladies in the county to see if public service or even a government job is something they might be interested in. So I will get in touch with Ryan tomorrow, and we'll get that up on both our website and on our Facebook page. One last thing I would like to pass on a little bit of knowledge that I picked up last Monday. At the Prosperity Partnership meeting on Zoom, I took a cold medicine early in the afternoon, and one of the side effects of that medicine is drowsiness. So when I closed my door and the heat was on and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I sat in this very comfortable chair, at about 50 minutes into the meeting, you will notice that my head kind of goes this way, and it doesn't move for about 15 minutes. So I apologized last week to the board members, and I'm apologizing to the public tonight. I won't take that medicine again before I attend a Zoom meeting. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's out there anyway. If you want to go and look at it, you can go do it. This in no way, Shelby, reflects on how you run a meeting. It's just my medicine that I took, and if you've ever sat for an hour and a half watching a TV screen in a warm room with a comfortable chair, I'm sorry it happened, but it will not happen again. With that, does anybody have anything else under new business?
Well, I have a couple of questions. I guess my question is to Barb and Ryan. When is the town board going to have an open discussion about
think we, oh, Ryan, do you want to answer that?
Well, I mean, the document's already been shared with the board. It was emailed out to the board asking for any sort of input. I believe around the time of the last meeting we had, John, you provided some feedback. I think Benny made, I don't remember if it was email or verbal, had one recommendation or question. We haven't really heard anything further from the board.
Well, I guess last month Barb made an issue that I gave you very negative comments. And I actually was glad you brought up your thing tonight because I'd like to have an open discussion about
We
it.
should, but how do we handle it with opening it? We don't open
Why
to
does it
public,
have
we
to-
don't have public comment, how do you want to handle it?
We don't need public comment can be at the end of the meeting. I'm talking about between the board members. Because I read your email that came out in your proposal, and my comments were directed at each individual section of your thing, pointing out areas that were in violation of our present zoning code, like putting in 8-foot fences. Are we going to change the zoning code too? That was my question. I don't know why that you think that's negative. That's exactly what you said.
No, I think we're, John, like I said tonight, we're in the beginning stages of this, and we have to listen to everyone. And obviously, we want to listen. When we put in there the 8-foot fences, and you brought up a good point,
Right.
that it's against our zoning, so we do have to look at changing zoning also.
Barb, you use the other one so that John can use his, you can use.
I guess my other question, in 16 months, how many times have you sat down with the business people from the junkyards to discuss this problem?
Well, Planet has been very involved in this problem, okay? And we haven't I personally have not sat down with really anyone to discuss it, and that's why I said I want to bring the two groups together. We have to listen to both sides of it. I'm not
Because-
shutting anyone out.
Because I've heard Planet mentioned 100% of the time. I haven't heard Metro Metals mentioned any percent of the time. And your proposal would essentially put Metro Metals out of business.
That's what we got to hear from. We have
Is
to
that
hear
our
from them.
goal?
But we cannot say we're just going to put restrictions on Planet.
Correct?
It's on junkyards. Majority of those complaints have come from Planet because they're in a very residential area.
Correct.
So we do have to speak to all three of the junkyard owners. I
Absolutely.
want to bring everyone together before we take any steps in this.
And I guess that would have, to me, been our first goal, would have been to bring both parties, or all the parties, into a room. Sit down and try and iron out your differences, because there has got to be some give and take in this.
Absolutely.
I mean, to limit hours and make these places close on Saturday, which is their busiest time of the year, is going to put a real hardship on.
We have to have a starting point. We have a negotiation, we have plenty of room for negotiation.
I just don't want to see us put something out there and say, well, here it is,
No, we have no plan on doing
and we're
that.
going to do that, and if it doesn't fly, then we're going to turn around and try to go to state regulations.
This is what Ryan and I came up with. We thought was a reasonable and take into consideration the business owner and the residents. And that's, like I said, that's why we want to get together, get them together and let's come to some conclusion with this. This has been going on for 2 years now.
Correct?
So,
It should have never gone on for 2 years, to be quite honest with you.
no, it shouldn't, but I was in charge 2 years ago.
Yeah, you were.
I was?
And the minute Ben came into office, he put you and Ryan in charge.
A year and a half ago. I'm talking before Penny's administration. And don't forget, Ryan wasn't. Ryan took my whole folder and had to update himself on everything.
I know.
So from day one. So, that took time.
And I guess my second question isn't to you, Barb, it's more to the supervisor. And you're probably going to get tired of hearing me talk about the rate hearing. But have we made any progress in getting the controller's report done, which you said would be done by the end of the month, which is in 2 days, and setting up a rate hearing?
I can answer the question for myself. I have not seen the code
I didn't,
report.
I was asking.
Oh, okay. I have not seen it.
I
I thought you
haven't-
said you bargained, but, okay.
No.
I haven't seen the code report.
Dave has put together a preliminary draft, and I will get that out to you guys, well, probably tonight.
I guess my frustration is that we've had these real problems, and they go on and on and on, and we don't seem to solve any.
I couldn't agree more with you, John.
You know, and that shouldn't be. We're here to solve problems of our residents. And it may be painful at times, but we just can't, and I will say it, and I'm gonna get a lot of blowback from you guys, but it seems like these problems never become a problem until we head for an election season. Instead of working on it non-election seasons and solving the problem, we bring it up at election time because we somehow think that it's going to garner us votes one way or the other. And I know people will be on this board will be offended by that.
I'm not offended at all, but you just said that Ryan and I have been working on it for a year and a half, so it was well before election time.
Well, yeah, but for the first year, I didn't hear of the plan. Didn't hear anything about the plan. I didn't even know there was complaints.
People have been at every meeting complaining.
Not for the first year. Not until about 6 or 8 months ago.
I don't want to get back and forth tonight.
No, I don't either, to be honest with you, Barb. I just want to say what my frustration is.
I understand that. How would you like, what is your solution to setting up a board discussion and getting together with the business owners and the residents? What's your solution for that?
I think we tried it before. We had them all in the same room, the community center here, and we had an open discussion.
Is that what you want to do?
Yeah,
Okay,
I have no problem with that.
fine.
I think also we need to set a rate here. Well, I shouldn't say a rate here. We should be calling it a rate review and that problem. I think, and if you want to be honest, my opinion on both those situations, I think no matter what this board decides, they will both end up somehow in court. And that's just the nature of the beast.
We agree.
Yeah, I know.
100% on that, and that's
So,
something we'd like to avoid,
yes,
if possible,
yes,
so.
and that's it. That's all I have to talk about. Not bad, right?
Anything else under new business? Okay, with that, we will open up the floor for public comment. If anybody has anything they'd like to say, Ms. Licata? Again, I'm not sure if that microphone is working or not, but Brenda was here. It was working at 2:45 this afternoon. You heard it.
Okay, first, I'd like to comment on the fact that I'm here because when I'm at home, I can't hear a word you people are saying. Except for when Benny speaks in front of his computer, I hear every word perfectly. If I were a tech person, I would think there might be a way to fix this. Maybe put a laptop here with a microphone like you have or whatever. I know there's feedback if you have more than one going. So if a person's up here speaking, turn yours off and then put this one on. I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I get a funny feeling that that might work. Second, there's a zoning ordinance somewhere that says you can't have a fence more than 8 feet tall.
Correct.
Then why is there a 10-foot fence around the airport with barbed wire on the top of it?
I couldn't agree more with you, Sharon. Unfortunately, the county being its own political subdivision does not have to follow our zoning.
They're exempt.
They're exempt.
They're exempt from our zoning.
That's very disappointing.
To me,
Because
it
I have
is.
to say that that's the ugliest thing I've seen. I've been out in the neighborhoods helping people campaign too, that's knowledge, public knowledge. And everybody asks me in my neighborhood, what is going on with this fence? It is the ugliest thing. That's one point. The other point is somebody from Agawam, Massachusetts is putting this thing up.
Correct.
I have to wonder why we had to go to Agawam, Massachusetts.
Because when the bids were put out several years ago, they were the lowest bidder on the job. And this was I understand, Sharon, I asked the same questions when I got in office last January at my first building and grounds meeting. I asked all these questions. I was told the county and the FAA can put up any size fence they want because that's county property and they don't have to follow our zoning laws. And I asked about why our contractor was from Agawam, Massachusetts, and I was told it was a federal contract because the federal government is paying for 80 to 90% of this fence, so they got to pick the supplier and the installer. And the low bid was a fencing company from Agawam, Massachusetts.
That's very disappointing.
The best part of that fence, Sharon, is the 3 feet they buried in the ground.
Yeah, that's great, because it's gonna keep the little bunnies from burrowing in there, I guess, so they don't get hit
No,
by an airplane.
I'm just saying, we don't see that part.
Yeah,
Wait till the signs go
Well, you
up.
see half of it, that's not true, John, you do see half of it,
I know.
because they left half of it coming up. That makes it much more attractive. to
And
have
there's
that.
signs going on, there's signs going on, I saw them on Stone Church today,
Great, yeah.
private property.
Private property, yeah,
County
great,
property.
great, make it even better. I will say that we all knew about Planet a long time ago, and the complaints about Planet have been very public. And I mean, anybody who didn't know that there were complaints about Planet didn't attend that meeting that was right here over a year ago. I know that we didn't have to distance from one another. I remember we were all standing very close. So it had to be over a year ago that we started to hear all of this, so. Yeah. So I'm just like saying, if you didn't know that somebody was complaining, I heard this last month at the meeting too, they said that, oh, I didn't know there was anybody complaining about it. Jeepers creepers. If you stand in my front yard, you know where I live, on Ichabod Lane, if you sit on my front yard and all the way through Sleepy Court, if you stand out there at 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, you can hear it. So that's just for your information, that's how loud that is. I can't imagine those poor people living there, so that's just.
In my reference to complaints, Sharon, I was referencing, because we had actually sat down with Planet and the surrounding neighbors, and I thought we had some concession.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
This was probably 3 years ago.
Well, see, I never knew, I live right there. I never knew.
Okay, we need to keep this as public comment when in the conversation.
Everything
If
quieted
somebody got to
down
talk,
after
I didn't
that.
get to talk. I'm not
And
doing
I
that.
haven't heard anything until this started up again 6 months ago.
Okay, well, I guess I've been watching it too and see, it's been an ongoing issue. And the gentleman who called in last month, was it last month? I think it was, the guy who owns it, was kind of rude, and, you know, I know it's his business, I get that, but we need to all, like, try to find solutions to be a good neighbor, and I think that's part of it, being a good neighbor.
Thank you, Sharon. Anyone else?
This wasn't planned. I guess I'm just,
We need your name and address for the record.
Karen Bishop. This is not working. Karen Bishop, I live at 270 Meadowlark. I guess I'm not, you know, I feel like we need somebody to spearhead this thing because I was so unaware of all of this 3 years ago. I did not know that there was anything taking place in terms of arguing things. And actually, it seems like the problem has gotten worse over the past couple of years. So 3 years ago, I didn't find it such an issue. It has actually become more of an issue with a visual problem, and the noise has gotten worse. And so I guess I'm just looking for information so that I know I can show up and be there, and just, you know, transparency so that we all know what's going on. I'm happy to go to any meeting and discuss it. But it does need to be discussed. I mean, you know, some of us, it's just frustrating that nothing takes place. So I'm here to help, anything I can do, anything, you know, I want to be cooperative about this. I understand that he's a business owner. I'm not looking to put him out of business. But I do think that we need some sort of barrier for those of us who are right on the other side of it especially. And I don't know exactly how many homes that is, but, you know, I happen to be one of them. And it's just really discouraging to have to see that and hear it every day. So that's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
Hello, Michael Landis, 272 Meadow Lark Drive. You'll know me, I speak most of the time. Just want to say thank you. Just sincerely thank you for bringing this up. And this is the discussion a lot of us have been waiting for. You don't expect immediate results. And John Folish, you make really good points. I'm just excited that this discussion is actually happening. It's a big victory for us, and no one, as Karen said, no one is trying to hurt anyone else. Good neighbor policy is the way most of us see this. I just have one question. Just to be clear, what is exactly the next step? If I heard Barb correctly, she said it's in the hands of the lawyers now, and then John raised the question of what do we do now? So I'm just curious, at this point, is there a next step? Because I don't want this to kind of just be on the back burner for another several months, and then us be kind of in the lurch about this. So if someone tonight could just tell me what the next step is, and then, you know, we can make sure that the community is involved. You know, word will spread very quickly. Thank you, thank you.
How does the rest of the board feel about how we should handle this? I need some more input here, people. Do we want to have an open public meeting about this again?
I do. And when you say lawyers are involved, there is no suit against the town.
Oh, no, absolutely.
So
But
there is
I know
no
there's-
lawyer involved
I
at
know-
us, so we
no,
can
but
make the
there's-
decisions we
But
want.
there is discussion with Mr. Dawson's attorney, with our attorney who's
I know.
handling this. So I don't want to overstep, okay? I don't want to get us into any issues, okay? Because I'm trying to be open-minded on both sides of this. So,
I guess my biggest fear when we look at it, and what we're looking at is basically two problems, noise and visual problems. Well, there are ways to address those. But when we address it either by saying, well, put up a stockade fence,
well, that's across the front, that's right.
yeah, or chain link even down the side, that will do nothing for the noise problem. And building a berm, how high do we build the berm?
We don't.
But-
The owners would have to.
But
do
how
it.
high do we require that?
Well, those are things we have to look at.
So-
Those are things we have to talk about and look at.
If we truly are interested in coming together with the neighbors and the businesses, what our pitch should be that we should look at some engineers that specialize in this type of thing. There are plenty of sound deadening walls that they put up all over that could be maybe reasonable. But those are the things you ought to be looking at instead of just saying, well, we're going to write some regulations and throw something at it. What if the regulations we write don't work?
That's what we have to talk about. And I certainly think one of those sound barrier walls would put everybody out of business. And that's not what
Not
we're doing.
necessarily. The ones I've looked at, and they now with the new vinyls and things like that, they have some lower cost. I know everybody goes down Route 7 towards Troy, and you see the concrete sound deadening walls. Well, they're expensive to put in, but there are some deadening walls out there that, yeah, they're going to cost some money. But when you look at the overall, how long the business wants to be there, exactly what they're trying to accomplish, it may be, in the long run, be more cost-effective for them to do that. But these are all discussions you need to have.
And again, we'll have to address our zoning and, you know, because our zoning, there's certain decibels and it doesn't apply to some of the businesses or some areas that we couldn't regulate the airplanes going over by decibels.
And the only other problem I have, and I be quite honest, I'm nervous that, okay, we put all these regulations on the junkyards and, you know, we think we've solved that problem. then what happens next when 100 people come in from Fair Oaks and complain about the gun club?
Well, that's a whole nother issue. I know, I
They'll
know,
be
I know.
complaining about
We don't want to
noise.
go there tonight.
I know we don't want to go there.
I know.
We have to understand that these businesses and such not, we're here,
Absolutely.
and we have to be able to work within these businesses. And I understand I'm very sensitive to the residents' problems, but until we actually move forward with trying to address the issues, I don't think we're gonna get anyplace.
I want to see it move forward, to be honest with you. I want to see it start, get some process started.
There is one minor problem that I see with having some kind of public meeting or gathering is right now we're limited to 20 people in this building. And I'm pretty sure, or 20 guests in this building, I'm pretty sure that if we were to decide to have another public discussion about this, we're going to have people lined up outside the door. I don't know what the answer is. Those restrictions are loosening almost every day, but based on square footage, we are taking up a lot of space in this building. I don't know how many more people we could add. We'd have to check and see what the regulations are.
Firehouse.
Weather permitting. Yeah, we could do something in a firehouse.
Originally, Mr. Supervisor, I had the rate review to be done up at the town garage. They have a tremendous area up there.
Well, I think now that the weather's breaking, John, yes, but when we were trying to get this done in January and February, I don't think that was going to physically work.
It's heated. And that's the alternative, I think. It's not the, I don't want to say it isn't as fancy as this place, but you provide chairs and it does have restrooms and, you know.
Anyone else?
Doesn't have restrooms, John, we're in an office.
I know.
And that's weather dependent too, because that roof leaks.
Mr. Bogosian.
Thank you. Did not think it possible to be stunned at a town of Milton board meeting, but when you pick up and deal with a problem you've only had for 2 years, and I'm not trying to minimize your problem, you have nothing to assume other than it's election time. You're absolutely right, John. 16 months you've dealt with this. You've been dealing with the sewer issue 16 years and you've not done a damn thing. So what is the public to assume? Tonight, I respectfully ask the town to complete the rate-making proceedings regarding Heritage Springs Sewer Works in a public forum with public participation, with an open and transparent process, with ample time for ratepayers to express their concerns, and with the sewer company under oath to answer public questions honestly. It's the only way to restore the public trust and confidence in this process that involves the highest sewer rates in all of Saratoga County. It's not just a flash in the pan, we're going to put up a few fences. There's just thousands of people affected by this. The concern this occur over this issue and its importance, I really question the motives, and again, I'm not minimizing the problem at all. To date, this board has failed to uphold its statutory obligations and duties to comply with New York state law. You have no statutory obligation to deal with that issue, but you do have a statutory obligation to deal with the sewer company, and you failed miserably. The rate review is to be conducted at intervals of not more than 5 years. We're at 8. You're in violation of law. Forget about the 8th offense. You guys are in violation of law. That's New York State Transportation Corporation Law, Section 121. You ought to read it. To my knowledge, no independent engineer or accountant has been engaged to ascertain what Heritage Springs Sewer Works investment is. Rather, you have willfully gone outside the law and tasked your controller with writing a report. There's nothing in the law that allows or provides for the controller to write a report. It means nothing. He's an employee of yours. He's subject to undue pressure. It's not independent.
1 minute, sir.
No, I have more than that because you set precedent with 5 minutes with Mrs. Mercado. That was 6. 6, thank you.
I stood up there for 6 minutes.
So I'll take precedent with the 6 minutes. You ought to check out.
No, sir, you won't. You have 1 minute.
You ought to check out New York State Law, Transportation Corporation Law, Section 118. And you ought to do something rather than sit up there. You know what? You go down to Schenectady County, and that fence is horrible around this airport. Absolutely horrible. You go down to Schenectady County, it's painted black, you can't see it. You'd think you would go to the Board of Supervisors. You're the 3rd largest town in the county, and use that and get something done. Well, we don't do a damn thing there. We worry about the 1 minute, not the public. This board needs to take action, and I ask that it be done quickly and be done correctly. And I ask that you engage an engineer who will then hire an accountant to do a proper review precisely as the law prescribes. I do not understand the reluctance to follow the law in the town of Milton. What's going to happen? You passed a couple resolutions tonight to change the law. If those laws are violated, what are you going to do? Nothing? You've done nothing here. We sit in violation of the law and we do nothing. It's time to wake up, do something, forget about your election, and just do something that's for the good of the people.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ianculucci.
Thank you, Supervisor. My name is Ryan Russell Street. At a time when it seems very difficult to find any topic that everyone can agree on, I just want to take a couple moments and say thank you from the public to Russ Milton. I think everyone would agree that Russ has been an exemplary town employee for many, many years. In addition, my family has had the wonderful experience of him being a terrific neighbor for many years, and I like to think that he remains a friend to me and my family. So I hope you all draw some lessons from the way that Russ has lived his life. Every day, he's truthful, honest, doing the best he can with whatever he has available to him. He's been a great role model, and I wish him the very best as he enters into this next phase of his life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dawson.
Good evening, everyone. Tony Dawson, Planet Waste Recycling, 274 Greenfield Avenue, Balsam Spa, New York. I'd like to start by supporting what Bruce had to say. I hope that there's not a double standard and that I do not have to rush through my comments because obviously there were a lot of them and I would like to respond to each one. Just so everybody knows a little history on Planet Waste Recycling. Back in November of 2018, we sent out over 200 invitations to any property owner within 1,000 feet of our location, inviting them to the community meeting, which occurred in November of 18. So if anybody has a position that they didn't know about a meeting, if they were not invited, that is simply factually incorrect. After that meeting, in June of 19, we had a community meeting and invited everyone to it. The same people that were invited, tour our facility, not a community meeting, a site tour. Everyone that was part of the community meeting wasn't invited to participate in that. Supervisor Zlotnick, you attended, Councilmember Folish attended, Councilwoman Kerr attended. We made a lot of concessions and efforts to be a good neighbor, and we continue to do our best. As a matter of fact, today I received an email from one of the property owners on our eastern property line thanking me for a good job that we've been doing. Now, for the record purposes, a little timeline. On March 31st, I submitted a FOIL request for any and all correspondence between town board members for any proposed changes to the junkyard law. On April 15th, a day after the last meeting, I sent an email to Councilwoman Kerr. Covered a lot of things, but I specifically requested a copy of the proposed changes. All of those have been ignored. On April 26th, I received a response to my FOIL request. The town supervisor, Councilman Isaacson, and Councilwoman Kerr invoked attorney privilege clause or rights, and clearly that is not a very good act of transparency or good faith on the board's part if they truly want to resolve this. This has been nothing but a political football each election season. And by the way, there have been no complaints from June 29th of 19 when we hosted our tour up until December of 2020. Or I have a FOIL request to support that. Now moving on for more of a less confrontational, more common sense approach to Councilwoman Kerr's comments earlier. Our company has been found in compliance with all applicable laws. I have pointed out to this board, as well as the property owners, of their non-compliance with both deed restrictions and local laws. They've been ignored. You can take a position that you can't enforce deed restrictions. I'm not an attorney, I'll give you that. But you cannot give the property owners of Milton Oaks who are complaining about noise and visual issues a pass on not maintaining a fence line and a 75-foot no cut zone buffer, which was specifically intended to mitigate noise and visual impairment of the junkyard. Stockade fence was the first point that Councilwoman Kerr brought up. We're compliant with a stockade fence, and as part of the concessions back in 2018, we also put up a fence on the eastern property line. As far as a 6x8 fence, for the board to take the position that I have to put up a 6x8 fence or 6 to 8 foot fence on the north-south property lines when there's local law and deed restrictions on both the north and southern property owners to maintain and install that is a big ask on your part. As far as earth berms, if you guys want to consider earth berms, we need to take a look at the amount of real estate that an earth berm would take up. Around the perimeter of my property, just simply using 3 foot on top for planting, and earlier Councilmember Kerr brought up the issue of the dead trees on another berm. There's a maintenance issue. There's a water issue. But more importantly, there's a case law from Goblin's Junkyard that Judge Gardino heard. And in summary, that says that Goblin has the right to use every square inch of their property to operate a junkyard. If I were to install berms around the perimeter of this, it would take up over 2 acres of my property. So are you guys going to give me a pilot program where you're going to reassess and forgive the taxes on the 2 acres that are taken up? I think that we need to be not short-sighted, apply some common sense, and really dig into the cause and effect and the benefits of these things. I agree with Councilmember Coalition. There should be an engineer involved if you guys want to pay for one, because otherwise we're going to be just wasting money.
1 minute, sir.
As far as the limiting of our hours of operation and preventing us from operating on Saturdays is simply illegal and unfair. So at the end of the day, I think this meeting did have a change of tone, and it does sound to me like the board members are going to be willing to offer some transparency, act in good faith, and sit down with the stakeholders and the neighbors, and I would strongly encourage that. I think that it would be a wonderful idea, and we have been and always will be to remain wanting to be a good neighbor and doing the best that we possibly can. So I do hope that we can stop with the bi-weekly back and forth banter and do something productive. On another note, you guys have, sounds to me like some pretty big issues that you should be spending your time with. Thank you.
I want to say something to Mr. Dawson. Mr. Dawson, thank you for your email you sent me, because I'm always open to any correspondence. But when you CC 10 other people, please make sure your information is correct. I just want to make it very clear. I have never sat on the board of Brookside Museum with Mr. Landis or anyone else. I've never been on that board, so I'm not really quite sure where you got that information. Thank you.
Mr. Licata. Go ahead, Tony.
I'm done, Supervisor Lawson. You're talking to me.
No, wrong Tony, sorry. Okay, Mr. Licata. You're up. Well, he's got his hand up, Sharon, and the microphone is on, so,
You played with the button. He doesn't.
okay. Tony, going once? Going twice? Muted. Okay. Seeing nobody else, anyone else? Mr. Bogosian.
Thank you, and again, I'm so glad that we're going to have unlimited time to speak. It's over biased, Mr. Supervisor, when you call my brother after 2 minutes, and I don't have any problem with Mrs. Licata speaking for 5 or 6 minutes, or the guy from Planet, whatever it is, talking for 10 or 12 minutes. I have no problem with that. I do have a serious problem when you call myself or my brother on 2 minutes or 3 minutes. As for, I'm going to bounce around a little bit, and because I got a couple extra minutes. Airport looks like a prison. I know it's terrible. Schenectady County, I believe it's green instead of black, the fence. We're the 3rd largest town. You heard that already. It's a weighted vote. They sit in our town. Your predecessor, Mr. Treble, years ago, knew it well and said it well. They have 500 acres in our town. They don't pay any taxes. So what are you going to do for me? He had it figured out. I don't think you have it figured out in the county. The FAA doesn't control what happens at the airport. They're a grantor of money, and they don't direct that to the county. They need your vote to spend money at the DPW, who runs the airport, so I think they would probably work with you. As for your comptroller issuing an opinion, you're more than welcome to have your employees issue any opinion you want on this rate proceeding. They have absolutely no effect. Transportation Corporation law is what governs this proceeding. You said you were going to establish another public hearing. We're looking forward to that happening. So the controller can do whatever he wants, but you need to have an independent engineer, an independent accountant, based on Transportation Corporation law. As you're well aware, Heritage Spring Sewer Works Inc. is doing everything possible to silence us and deprive us of our civil rights to address the board regarding the ongoing rate proceeding. Rest assured, and those of you who've been here for a while know I speak the truth. We will not be silenced. We will not waver. We will not relent. We will not give up in our efforts to bring forth the truth to the public regarding the lack of investment by the sewer company, Heritage Spring Sewer Works Inc., in any infrastructure in the town of Milton, and such infrastructure or lack thereof is the only basis upon which you are to set a fair and reasonable connection rate. The facts are clear. They are available to you. They are based on sworn testimony, an affidavit from Kuchis, who is a certified public accountant, who places his license on the line when he signs an affidavit telling you there are no investments by the sewer company in any infrastructure in the town of Milton, and all of that is corroborated with the tax returns from Heritage Spring Sewer Works Inc. that has no infrastructure investment. In fact, when you passed a resolution in 2011 saying that they had $1,114,800 and some odd in infrastructure investment in this town, their tax return where they certified to the federal government under penalty of imprisonment, they had $1,258 in total assets. Let's say I screwed up, so I go to the second year. They had $14,666 in 2011. In all of the tax returns of which we have access to from the beginning of time, because of litigation, there is never $1 invested by Heritage Springs Sewer Works, Inc. in sewer infrastructure in the town of Milton. This fraudulent connection rate has existed far too long. We respectfully request the board to set a public hearing in furtherance of this ongoing rate proceeding, compel the principals of Heritage Springs Sewer Works, their expert witnesses, to provide sworn testimony regarding the finances of Heritage Springs Sewer Works, Inc. The continued failure of this board to perform its statutory obligations under Transportation Corporation's law is unacceptable, and there will come a time when you will be held accountable for your actions or lack thereof. We don't understand. We sit in our office and we wonder why this board struggles so hard to be in contravention of the law when it is so easy. The facts are in front of you. They are certified sworn statements. Those are tax returns. It
30
is so
seconds, sir.
I'm sorry, sir?
30 seconds.
Thank you very much. It is so easy to deal with this issue, but you go to great lengths to stymie the process, circumvent the law, when you're elected, in fact, to regulate this monopoly, to protect the citizens of the town of Milton, to whom you pledge to uphold the law. Elections are coming quickly, and I'm sure those running for office will be out on the street knocking on doors telling each and every one of us how hard you're going to work for us in the future. Well, you have an opportunity to prove it, to show us, the public, not with words, but with actions. And we respectfully request you do so immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will close public comment. At this time, I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss employee issues.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. Can you pull the board, please?
First,
Ryan?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kern.
Yes.
Councilman Frosch.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for the courtesy, Mr. Supervisor.
That's why we're here, Mr. Devotion.
Oh, I was going to make an announcement, but nobody's going to hear it.
I'm here as a resident.
Demand it. Yes.
Yes.
Demand she give her whatever she was gonna say.
I was going to make an announcement that we're
Oh.
stocking the ponds for
Correct.
fish.
Real quick.
Nice.
I forgot about that. Yeah, real quick. I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Brendan, pull the board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kern.
Yes.
Councilman Frosch.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. One last bit of business. Two? Go, John.
Ceiling tile. Traced out.
Take the microphone, John. Grab a microphone here. We're recording,
Got the email that I sent.
and I want your wife to be able to hear you, so.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
These are the 3 samples.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Well, all these estimates.
Yes.
Why isn't MJ doing this? Why are we piecemealing
Because
this?
we chose to have the facilities guys.
But why Why isn't
Because we don't want to pay
Why
MJ.
isn't that, it should be included.
No.
If you want to pay for it, it is,
No,
Bart.
I'm not talking,
MJ.
I'm not talking about the installation.
No, no.
Why isn't this whole thing?
But MJ would not get the pricing anyways. So what they would do generally is mid-state pricing. So they have to pay mid-state or
It just
something.
it feels like we're piecemealing
Why?
this. I just.
Yeah, I guess
What
this-
else was it, the tiles and?
Tiles and lights.
And lights. It just feels like we're piecemealing everything. And I just don't understand why this isn't under
Because-
one umbrella.
What we
Because the
chose
umbrella
to
would be
do-
very expensive if we put it under one umbrella, Bart.
What we chose to do was split it up.
That's fine. I'm just asking. It just
So
seems.
my recommendation was to go with this particular tile. Pass it around if you want to look at it.
It is what it is.
Well, it is what it
Yeah, but
is.
there's different styles. and
The
John-
difference between, if you look at these ceiling tile, basically is this type of pattern. Tends to hold dirt and look very bad after a few years. Where this has very little hole pattern, and it actually mirrors a more expensive tile that they have. These tiles go a long ways. What we're looking at is roughly the best on the low end.
And when are they gonna do that? This is for the courts?
This is for the courts,
Okay.
but the
It's
quote
also going to be for the entire building.
The quote is for the whole building.
Yes,
And do we realize that insulation has to come down in the boardroom?
It's not,
it's down in one spot.
It's down.
not in the boardroom, in the hall.
No, in the boardroom.
No, actually not in the boardroom, in my
In the
office.
boardroom.
No.
We didn't fix the
The
trusses.
truss is in my
When I
office.
walked through today, they had the insulation out of the stairwell,
No, that was down the other day.
yeah, and in his office,
Okay.
the one that was broke.
I guess what bothers me is why wasn't someone overseeing this, that the trusses weren't repaired before the roof was sealed and the insulation was up?
It was
It's only insulation, Bart. It's not a big deal.
But anyways, we need a motion to purchase this from Drywall Center. Basically, where the quotes came were from the three distributors for sheet rock and drywall in this area. So if you can get a motion to purchase this.
Can I get a motion to purchase whatever, give me the name and the number of it, John, there, so we have it for the record.
This comes out of the bond, right?
Yes,
Yes,
it's Certainty, Performance, and Micro.
Was it the ceiling tiles or the lights that I thought only two of the three bids had come in? Or quotes, I should say.
Lights.
Lights.
Or no, the ceiling tiles.
Okay,
L&W I didn't hear.
okay.
And then when I did hear from them today, they only sent me one quote, and it was the middle of the line, but they were higher than the,
So,
okay, let's finish with it.
so, yeah, I need a motion.
So wait, if you're making a motion, you know the company,
Drywall Center, she has all that.
the dollar amount,
Dollar amounts on that?
Dollar amounts on the bid.
the type of tile, ABC tile that you're going with.
Yes,
This is just right.
Certainty.
Okay.
Brenda should have all that on the quote.
This is
It's
on-
actually the bottom one that is, I believe, like 99 cents a square foot.
What was the total? We're within our procurement policy, correct?
6 of them.
Six,
Well, you know,
six and change.
This is 79, 8,000.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick on John. Aren't you the one that said before we vote on these issues, you wanted 3 days'
I
notice?
know, but I didn't get 3 days.
Well,
You want to get back into the court? I'm doing the best I can.
How many bids did you get, John?
3.
Jason, do you have something to say?
I didn't know if John just got 3 quotes from one vendor, if we got
No, I got 3 quotes from the 3 distributors in the area.
that, I didn't know if it was for all 3 from one.
No,
You got 3 quotes on each side.
and I got a quote on each style. And to be honest with you, the hardest part is matching tile for tile, because one sells Armstrong, one sells Certainty, and the third sells USG. They're all the same,
It's like buying a mattress.
and they all have their cross-reference.
Okay, so did somebody make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. Any discussion? Can you poll the board, please, Brendan?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
I'm undecided on this. I guess yes.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich. Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes, thank you.
The second thing is light fixtures. That's a little happier news, actually, because National Grid has a rebate program for the light fixtures, $20 a fixture, and basically took one of the fixtures off their list and had 3 different companies, Wahlberg, Thorpe, and Cooper, were the electric groups in the town, or in this area, quoted. And Thorpe was the cheapest. They came in at $45 a fixture, and then you minus the $20, so we're down to $25 a fixture, which is a hell of a price.
Yep, and then you were telling me, John, we can only order 100 at a
You
rip.
can order, they can only sell for the rebate program 100 to us a month. So if we order this week, we get in this month. If we order the next week, we get in the next month. By the time we get through the town hall, we'll have enough time. Basically, we're going to end up with about a $5,000 rebate for National Grid.
And I think John and I both figure we need about 250 fixtures.
And I laid it out for MJ's drawings. It was 250.
Yeah, I went through the other morning.
Everything.
I went through the other morning myself and walked through it, and I looked at those numbers too, and I came right around 250 fixtures. Which sounds like a lot, but you gotta remember that, you know, that's one fixture, and we're putting in 2x2s, so you have to double the number. But these will be LEDs too, right? So the operating costs are down, and the lifespan of the light bulbs is much longer.
Yeah.
10 years. So what are the specs on that, Jim?
Or it has those specs.
So Thorpe was 35, Cooper was, or
40.
45, Cooper was 44. And
Cooper did not bid a fixture that was on the list, so I don't know if I can get the rebate for it.
okay.
Basically,
And
well,
Albany Warehouse was 68.
yeah, it was Walter.
Cup Walter, yep.
So who's the company with the 60, Thorpe, right?
Thorpe is 45.
Right, with the rebate, we're down to 25.
Yep.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve a purchase of 250
Fixtures
from
from Thorpe.
Thorpe at a price of $45 a piece, subject to the National Grid rebate.
And we have to.
We'll have to fill out the paperwork for the rebate, yes.
Are we buying 100 at a time, so it's going to be 3 purchases? 100, 150?
Well, we're buying 100 at a time, but we're purchasing 250. We're just delaying in between each time we have them.
Well, that's what I'm saying, are you putting in 3 orders?
I would think we,
An order for 100, and an order for 100, and an order for 50?
yes,
Just to make sure we get the rebate?
yes.
Okay, so your motion is to say that total price of whatever we have.
So it's a motion to order 250 in units of 100, 150 in order to qualify for the National Grid rebate.
Okay.
Need someone to make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Frank. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. Any further discussion? Thank you. Brendan, pull the board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Okay, so John will get that order in tomorrow or Friday, so that it qualifies for April.
I'll get that order in tomorrow.
Okay. Anything else, boys and girls?
Barb, when are you stocking?
I'm not telling.
Okay.
It's a secret.
Well, I heard
They'll
you
be
say.
stocked for the weekend.
Yeah, there goes that open government thing.
Yeah. Are you kidding? By the time the truck hits the county line, people are out with their fishing poles.
Oh, I had people calling today, I'm like, I don't think they're gonna do that.
I had 3 people call me today and ask when the ponds were gonna be stocked, and I
They're gonna
said,
be ready for the
I
weekend.
said in the near
All right.
future, so I
They're
guess
gonna be
we
ready
didn't
for
do it.
the weekend.
And I was reminding people that there is a 3 fish limit, please.
Jason is putting the signs up tomorrow, I think, for me.
Okay.
3 fish limit, hopefully under 12 in the 4-H ponds.
Anything else?
And
Motion to
social
adjourn.
distancing.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh God, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor?
I need a second.
Somebody second. I'll second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Thank you. This closes our meeting for this evening, and may our God bless you.